The Advanced Guide to Microsoft Excel 2013. What happened? Another Computer Mama guide. When something goes wrong, everyone wants to go through the data and find out what happened. The data tools are Data Sort, Filter, Group, and Subtotal. A pivot table combines all of the best data tools together. A pivot table presents the data in a very visual way. For some reason, pivot tables are considered advanced. In this lesson, advanced doesn't mean difficult. It just means a few more steps. The Computer Mama says formulas may be difficult, but pivot tables are actually fun. Let's try something different. This lesson will walk through the steps needed to create a pivot table. We'll use the labels to filter the data, and we'll change the field settings to count things. There's a sample spreadsheet that you can download and use if you wish. The two ribbons that we're going to be using today are PivotTable Tools Analyze and PivotTable Tools Design. So if you are ready, please start the program Microsoft Excel and open that sample spreadsheet. Hello Excel and hello data. This is the monthly sales for Charlotte's website. There are 4 salespeople, Alex, Connie, Nikki, and Elizabeth, and the data is sorted by months. Select the entire spreadsheet. Go to Insert, Tables, Pivot Tables. When you select the entire range, what do you see? The range is shown as only the columns, absolute A through absolute H. There aren't any row numbers. This is important. This means you can add more data month after month after month. We want the pivot table to be in a new worksheet, so click on OK. Hello Pivot Table. There is a new blank pivot table in a new sheet. There are 2 sets of pivot table tools. The Analyze ribbon includes the pivot table, the fields, group, filter, data, tools, and show. The Design ribbon includes the layout, style options, and styles. Keep going, please. Pivot tables use fields to organize and calculate the rows and columns. These fields come from the labels in the first row. That first row has a special name in a spreadsheet. That's the header row. Look for the pivot table field list on the right side of your screen. They match the labels in the top part of the spreadsheet. What if you don't see them? The field headers can be turned on or off with the pivot table tools. If you don't see the field list, try this. Go to PivotTable Tools, Analyze. Go to Show, and then click on Field Headers. Click it on, now you see them. Click it off, now you don't. Click it on and leave them on. This is the best way to use it. Creating a pivot table begins by adding the fields to the table. Every table calculates something, sum, count, average, whatever. In this example, we'll answer the question, what did you sell? How do you add the fields to the pivot table? Try this. Go to the pivot table field list and click on Product. What do you see? The product should be displayed in a pivot table. What else do you see? Look at the bottom of the field list. When you add a field to a pivot table, it will be shown here in this corner. The product field was added to the row labels. The data is shown in rows, 1 row for each product, banquet, breakfast buffet, etc. Row labels are filtered. Try it. Click on cell A3 and then click on the row labels. Select edible fruit and fruit and vegetables. When you click OK, those are the 2 products that the pivot table will display. Please go back to cell A3, click on the row label, and select all of the products again. So far so good. We have the names of the products in the rows. Now we need to add some data. Go to the field list and then drag and drop the field called Amount to the values. Yes, it will say Count of Amount. Keep going. When you add the value, the pivot table will automatically count the records for each row. There is a grand total for all the products too. I'd like to change the value from count of amount to sum of amount. This is money. Select cell B3. Go to PivotTable Tools, Analyze, and go to the Active Field group. click on Field Settings. Keep going. Right now, the value field setting is Count of Amount. Please choose Sum. But before you go, let's format the numbers. At the bottom of the screen, click on Number Format. And when you are prompted, click on Currency. Click OK. OK, that looks better. This is money, and it's formatted for currency. This pivot table answers the question, what did you sell? The next question would be, who bought what? The customers are tagged as corporate, education, government, and private. The category field will be added to the column header. Here are the steps. Go to the pivot table field list. Drag and drop the category field to the columns. The pivot table now has column headers. There's a subtotal for each category: corporate, education, government, and private. So why is it called a pivot table anyways? To pivot means to move the data from the rows into the column, and this works out very well. You gotta try this. Go to the field list. Drag and drop the category field from the columns to the row. Make sure that the category is above the product field. What do you see? There are 4 categories. Each has a subtotal. That's a good summary of the pivot table tools analyze. Let's look at the design tools. Go to the ribbon and click on Design. The layout group lets you format the subtotals, the grand totals, the report, and takes care of the blank rows. The subtotals are displayed at the top of the group. The computer mama finds that hard to read. Go to Layout, Subtotals, and select all subtotals at the bottom of the group. That'll work. How do you get rid of the blank line? Click on the row header and look down in the bottom. There is a check mark to remove blank rows. The grand totals can be added to the rows, the columns, to both, or to neither. There are several report layouts that you should consider. The goal of any pivot table is to display the data in a way that's easy to read. Here is an example of the compact form, and here is an example of the outline form, and here is one in the tabular form. Again, pick the layout that fits your data, and that makes it easy to read. Pivot tables can have style. Go to Pivot Table Tools, Design, and look at the pivot table styles. There are light, medium, and dark. The styles will format the columns, the headers, and the data. The pivot table style options are the same options that I have with tables. I can turn on or off the row headers, column headers, banded rows, and banded columns. There are more pivot table options. Go to Pivot Table Tools, Analyze, Pivot Table, Options. You can format and analyze every part of the pivot table with the options. Try this. There are 6 pages of options that we can format if we wish. Let's look at a couple. Layout and Format let you merge and center cells. You can also choose how to format the empty ones. Totals and Filters give you the options for the grand totals. You can check whether to show the grand totals for the rows, or the columns, or both. The display page has options for showing or hiding the rows. You can also show the tooltips or the field captions. That's enough of that. This lesson showed how to create and format a pivot table. In the next lesson, we're going to look at pivot charts. Ollie ollie in free. You get the cookie. This is the Computer Mama, and thank you for coming.